Hey guys, welcome back to Prep Talk on Prepping in Progress. Sorry, no, it's not a cooking video, but you get to keep me company. Actually, we're going to be talking about a little bit about communication and a lot about family. So stay with us. As usual, we're going to start with the prayer requests and blessings. And we've got a couple of requests and a couple of blessings to share. So, as you are able, bow your heads with me, and then we'll get into the video. Merciful Father, first we want to thank you for the difference you have made in several lives. The ways you have made manifest in their lives are so special. You have sent your human angels to show up when needed, where needed, to be a comfort, a guide, and a shoulder to lean on to these people. We thank you for Jonathan and Nicole. We thank you for Miss Julie. You've been working through them. And we also come to you with some requests. We have a like-minded young man who is facing the possibility of transitioning from being on the front to more of a planner and trainer. And it's a position he's not used to. Please be with him. There is another young man who is struggling to find his place in this world. And we ask you to guide him. Walk with these people, Lord. Amen. So, I said we were going to chat about family and communication. You know, you can find anything on YouTube. And recently I came across that old TV show, Highway to Heaven, with the last show that Michael Landon was a part of. And I loved that show as a younger man. My parents were not quite sure on the theology, but, you know. My mom also took issue with the fact that here's this guy who's supposed to be an angel, kind of tells excuses to explain why he's where he is and what he's doing. But last night I was watching a season 1 episode where Jonathan and Mark are driving in the car, and they're in an area that Mark was in when he was a kid. And he makes the offhanded comment, you know, God, I wish I could tell my grandfather what he really meant to me. And suddenly there's a cow in the road, and he swerves off the road and hits his head. And when he wakes up, Old-time music is playing on the radio. Lots of old-time cars are on the road. And it takes them a few minutes to realize that whether he's in a coma or whether this is for real, he's been given the opportunity to see his grandfather one more time. But his job is to help his young self tell his grandfather what he meant to him. There are several telling points in the story where the grandfather is talking to old Mark. Nah, that kid doesn't love me. That kid hates it here. And eventually old Mark is able to facilitate communications. PJ did a video, went up today on Viking Preparedness. 5 things your dad should have taught you. And one of the things he and the unnamed child, daughter, discussed was how to give a proper handshake. Between those 2 videos, I've spent a lot of time thinking about my grandfather. One second. You've heard me talk about how I'm grateful to my grandparents for building the cabin that we have, that we can retreat to. I got lucky. My grandfather lived until the age of 94 or 98. I think it was 98. He and I had the time for me to grow up and for me to mature. When they first got the place here in rural Arkansas and built it, the first couple of visits, oh yeah, we're going out into the woods, oh yeah, we're going to go see grandmother and granddaddy. And then, as 13-year-old boys will do, we grow older. We get an attitude. We make plans with our girlfriends. And we get upset when those plans are thwarted by, no, we are going to grandmother and granddaddy's. And we show up unhappy, not wanting to be there and having an attitude. And then granddaddy says, could you please help chop my firewood? Could you please mow my grass since you're here? Could you please go work and weed the greenhouse? Could you please go check the spring? And then he tries to tell you how to do it. I'm grateful that that old man loved to talk. And he wouldn't let me shut him off with, I know, I know. But that he would say, now listen, this is what the weeds look like. This is what the food plants look like. Don't pull the food plants. I almost didn't get the chance to tell that old man I loved him. I didn't mean to come off like I hated him. I didn't mean to be perceived as a horse's rear end. But I'm sure I was. Now, this is the same old man that when I got my directions mixed up and ended up on the backside of the mountain going away from the house until I found civilization. Hopped in the car, knew exactly where I was when I called, and came and got me. He loved me with all of his heart. And you want to talk about a book? I am so grateful that I was able to shut up and pay attention to what he told me about the depression, to what he told me about skills and how to do things, and the stories he told about how they lived on a piece of property with the train tracks on the backside of it. And lying there at night listening, as he would put it, to that cha-cha-cha-cha-cha of the steam engine as it went by, and the whistle. Or when he got to ride the train, he adored steam locomotives. And the conductor would come through, all off for Freiburg! I can still hear that man giving that yell in a much louder voice than I did in the living room of that cabin. With each passing generation, skills, knowledge, and a bit of history is lost. Many of you guys watching are in your 40s. 35 to about 65 is the demographic. Many of you are parents. Have you taught your son or your daughter how to shake a hand? Gentlemen, have you taught your sons and daughters how to throw a punch? Now, those are two things that Pastor Joe mentioned, and I'm going to leave a link up for his video. You know what? If I haven't already, I'm actually going to leave a link for both the Highway to Heaven video and Pastor Joe's video in here. So much that we do, especially as men. I agree with something that was said in the Highway to Heaven episode. We equate doing things for others doing chores, buying property, fixing up property for the next generation with the words, I love you. That sometimes we forget to say, I love you. We forget that not everyone understands us, and we don't understand others. Now, gentlemen, we have a desire to leave a legacy for our family. Absolutely. We have a desire to make a way for our family to not just stay, but to have something physical and tangible to hold on to. And how many families have the children come back and decide to sell off the family farm? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't have all the answers. What I am going to tell you is if you want the things that matter to you to matter to your kids, to your grandkids, you can't just be a stoic male trying to show by doing. You have to talk. You have to communicate. You have to build that relationship. It's kind of like a relationship with him. What's that old song, The Cat's in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon? The little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, Dad? I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. And at the end, he says, I called up my son just the other day. I can't remember the lines, but he says, can you talk for a while? Can you come home? As the son says, I'd love to, Dad, but work's really busy and the child's been sick. And as I hung up the phone, I realized that boy grown up just like me. So it's up to us to decide what we want. How we want those boys and girls to grow up. So take a moment after your kids get home from school today. And if you don't have kids, if you have grandkids, if you have neighborhood kids, pass on just a little bit of knowledge. Thanks for watching, guys. Take some time. Pass on something before it's too late. And if you have parents still around, if you have grandparents still around, give them a call today. Tell them thank you. Humble yourself. Tell them, hey, you were right. I was a bit of a pill as a kid. I'm sorry. We don't know the number of days we've got on this planet. We need to make the most of them and make the value of them the best we can. Thanks for watching Prep Talk. I'll see you soon.